New information is coming out about the September death of a man in Las Vegas police custody. Today, the coroner's office is ruling the death of 50-year-old Byron Williams as a homicide. Footage shows he repeatedly yelled, "I can't breathe," after officers handcuffed him, and then his body went limp. The coroner's office says the official cause of death was methamphetamine intoxication with other significant health issues. They also added, quote, "In this context, homicide means the actions of another person or other people resulted in or contributed to death. It is not determination of criminal activity or wrongdoing."
We don't know the full details of what occurred until we interview and complete a full investigation.
A request for comment from Metro regarding the officers' employment statuses or whether the case will be submitted to the Clark County District Attorney's Office for review was not immediately returned. Attorneys representing the family have not returned requests for comment.
I can't breathe. Those would be the last words 50-year-old Byron Williams would ever say. He can be heard repeating them over and over again as Metro Police placed him under arrest around 5:45 Thursday morning.
Metro Police, stop! Stop!
2 officers tried to stop Williams near Bonanza and MLK for riding his bicycle with no safety lights. That's when Williams took off running. The officers chased him down. After repeatedly telling officers he couldn't breathe, body cam footage shows the officers stand Williams up, and you can see him trying to hide drugs. Moments later, his body goes limp. Officers drag him off around 5:55, and that's where the footage stops. For at least 7 minutes, officers had their body cams turned off.
There was a time where the cameras went off after they got him over to the police car.
There was 7 or 8 officers there, remind you. Every last video camera went off at the exact same time.
The body cameras came back on around 6:10 as paramedics were performing CPR. Doctors at Valley Hospital pronounced Williams dead just before 6:45. His family wants answers as to what happened while the cameras were off, why they were shut off in the first place, and why no one helped Williams after he told them repeatedly he couldn't breathe.
When you hear someone say they can't breathe, it's protocol to turn them on their side. It's not okay. It's unacceptable. Those officers need to be held accountable.
Now, Metro Police telling us that the officers involved, the 2 officers involved, have been placed on administrative leave during this investigation. They say they're working to figure out why the body cameras were cut off and for how long exactly.
Okay, breathe. Yeah, because you're tired of running.
Byron Williams would say those words, "I can't breathe," several more times before he died on September 5th. Body camera footage shows the moment a pursuit began at 5:48 a.m. It shows the moment officers took Williams into custody at 5:51 a.m.
Get on the ground!
Over the course of the next 3 minutes, the 50-year-old man would say, "I can't breathe," several more times. Metro Police say he appeared to pass out at one point after officers discovered narcotics. At 5:54 a.m., an officer requests medical help.
You guys want medical?
If you don't stand up, we're going to drag you. Put your arm in. Yeah, let's just get it.
Assistant Sheriff Charles Hank reveals the body cameras were turned off for a few minutes shortly after that. Hank says they were turned back on at 6:08 after medical had arrived. Williams died in the hospital at 6:44 a.m. Now, investigators are trying to figure out what happened in the 7 to 8 minutes when the cameras weren't rolling.
There'll be interviews of those officers to evaluate if their camera was deactivated at the appropriate or inappropriate time.
Williams' family says they've gone over the body camera video with Metro Police. They want answers as to why they were turned off.
What happened in between that time frame? The force investigation team said, honestly, we're going to be honest with you all, the body cams was supposed to stay on.
According to Hank, Metro's body-worn camera policy allows officers to turn them off once an action has concluded.
If they've completed their action, and as you can see, the action was completed at that time in terms of he's been taken into custody.
Held a small protest outside Metro headquarters today to call for justice in the death of Byron Williams. Williams died in police custody last week.
Any one of us could have been Byron Williams. So we're going to stand and we're going to make sure that this does not happen again. We're going to make sure that policy and legislation be changed. We're not only asking and demanding this be changed by Metro, but the legislators, because it's not okay.
Saturday afternoon, protesters joined the family of 50-year-old Byron Williams outside of Metro headquarters, where they demanded answers.
I thank you guys for demanding accountability, because we as a family are demanding those same things.
Williams died at Valley Hospital last Thursday, less than 1 hour after he told Metro officers he couldn't breathe. It started when 2 officers tried to stop him for riding his bicycle without a safety light. He took off running, and officers caught him.
What is the protocol when somebody is saying that they can't breathe?
Well, oftentimes, suspects will say things to somewhat distract officers, but it's important, as they did in this case, is to address that, evaluate that.
Body cam footage appears to show Williams trying to hide drugs as officers stand him up, and then his body goes limp. Metro officers released part of the footage to the public, but the family says they saw several other clips that weren't released.
At what point was it shut off? Can we see that portion of it, of when they actually shut it off and then when it came back on?
I don't have all of that with me at this time.
Metro Police confirm that the officers on scene shut their cameras off for at least 7 minutes. They also said Williams was wanted for violating the terms of his electronic monitoring, noting that he had an extensive criminal history and listing off his numerous felony convictions.
Grand theft auto, torture, robbery.
His family says Williams might have deserved to go to jail, but he didn't deserve to die.
He has family. He had a past. We all had a past. But guess what? This is the future. Bottom line.
Yeah, now Metro Police said that they are conducting a full investigation into why exactly those body cameras were shut off. They say that they're taking this very seriously. The ACLU and NAACP of Nevada getting involved as well, asking questions here.
Get on the ground! Body camera footage shows Metro Police officers arresting 50-year-old Byron Williams after he ran from police on September 5th when they tried to stop him for not having a bike light.
I can't breathe. I can't breathe.
Yeah, because you're tired of running.
He died about 45 minutes later at the hospital. Assistant Sheriff Charles Hank reveals the body cameras were turned off for about 7 to 8 minutes after officers had Williams in handcuffs and were then later turned back on when Williams received medical attention.
Our policy does allow for the officers to turn the body-worn camera off at the conclusion of an incident.
But Las Vegas NAACP President Roxanne McCoy says the video that police showed the public did not show the conclusion of an incident.
Watching the footage, it was like, well, the incident wasn't complete. You're still dragging a man that's still saying that he can't breathe. So how are you determining it's complete or incomplete?
The department's body-worn camera policy states, officers will continue to record for a short period after the event to demonstrate clearly to a subsequent viewer that the incident has concluded and the officer has resumed other duties or activities.
This is really troubling that now we're seeing that maybe the policy that Metro had in place isn't being followed.
ACLU Nevada Executive Director Todd Story wants to know what happened in those 7 to 8 minutes when the cameras were off.
Why? Why was the body camera footage shut off?
McCoy says police have shown Williams' family several body camera videos from the responding officers and says the cameras all went off at the same time.
We turn cameras off for a reason, mostly when we don't want people to see things.
Good afternoon. I'm Assistant Sheriff Charles Hank. I'm here to brief you today on the in-custody death that occurred on Thursday, September 5th in the Bolden Area Command. This incident occurred during a stop of an individual who patrol officers believe had violated traffic laws while riding a bicycle. This incident began shortly before 6 in the morning near the intersection of Bonanza and Martin Luther King Boulevard. It ended up a couple blocks away at 1720 West Bonanza Avenue. I'll now provide you with specific information related to this event. The date of the event was September 5th, 2019 at 5:48 a.m. The type of call was a person stop. The location of the initial call was Martin Luther King Boulevard and Bonanza Avenue. The location of the in custody was 1720 West Bonanza, Las Vegas, Nevada 89106. You can see the scene to my left. The time and location of in custody death was 6:44 a.m. at Valley Hospital. The involved officers are Officer Benjamin Vasquez, V-A-Z-Q-U-E-Z. He is 27 years old and has been with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department since March of 2017. Officer Patrick Campbell. He is 28 years old and has been with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department since April of 2017. Both officers are assigned to the Bolden Area Command. The decedent is Byron Williams. He is a 50-year-old black male adult, 5'9", 170 pounds. The day before this incident, Williams had absconded from the Clark County Detention Center electronic monitoring program that requires individuals to wear ankle monitoring bracelets. Williams was a convicted felon out of California for transporting, selling narcotics, controlled substance, vehicle theft, force, assault, deadly weapon, not firearm, and possession of narcotic controlled substance. Williams's California criminal history includes taking a vehicle without owner's consent, multiple arrests, possession of controlled substance, multiple arrests, under the influence of controlled substance, multiple arrests, theft, possession of controlled substance paraphernalia, trespass, receiving stolen property, multiple arrests, purchase for sale of narcotics, transporting, sell narcotics, controlled substance, patrol violation, multiple arrests, grand theft auto, torture, robbery, sexual penetration, foreign object with force, possession of cocaine, multiple arrests, obstructing a public officer, battery on a peace officer, DUI, and contributing to the delinquency of a minor. Williams' Nevada criminal history includes possession of Schedule 1, 2, 3, or 4 drug, possession of forged instrument, ex-felon, failure to register, and numerous traffic violations. Mr. Williams was in custody for trafficking, methamphetamine, possession of a dangerous drug without prescription, obstructing a police officer, and Clark County Detention Center electronically monitoring program absconder. The details of the incident. On September 5th, 2019, at approximately 05:48 hours, Officer Vasquez and Campbell were working as a 2-officer patrol unit. They noticed an adult male, later identified as Byron Williams, riding a bicycle in the area of Bonanza and Martin Luther King without any lights attached to the bicycle. Mind you, even though it was early in the morning, it was dark at this time. They attempted to stop Williams at 5:48 a.m., but he fled from them. Williams initially stayed on his bicycle as he fled from officers. He eventually discarded his bicycle in a vacant lot, desert area behind a gas station near Martin Luther King and Bonanza. Williams jumped off the bicycle and took off running westbound through the desert area. Williams jumped over a wall while Officer Vasquez and Campbell gave chase after him. Williams continued to run westbound through the next block and eventually jumped a second wall that leads to the Desert Gardens condominiums located at 1720 West Bonanza. After chasing Williams approximately a quarter of a mile, Officer Campbell caught up to Williams in the courtyard of the apartment complex. Officer Campbell ordered Williams to get on the ground, and he complied. Williams placed his arms under his chest and appeared to be reaching or attempting to hide something. Officers did not know what Williams was reaching for. Officer Vasquez and Campbell worked as a team to control Williams' movements and place him into custody. As officers were placing Williams in handcuffs, he, like the officers who chased him, appeared winded from running a good distance and jumping the walls. While officers were restraining and handcuffing Williams, he stated he was unable to breathe. After being placed in handcuffs, Williams was stood up and was still talking. As the officer stood Williams up, some items fell from his body near his pockets and hands area. It was later confirmed those items were illegal narcotics and dangerous drugs. Williams attempted to hide the items with his feet. Once the items were discovered by officers, Williams' body went limp and he was carried to patrol vehicles. As officers were escorting Williams to a patrol car, Williams appeared to pass out. However, Williams was still breathing, making noises, and moving as medical was summoned to respond. Las Vegas City Fire responded, treated Williams in the parking lot, and then transported him to Valley Hospital. Williams was pronounced deceased at Valley Hospital at approximately 6:44 a.m. We will now show you the body-worn camera video of this incident.
Metro Police, fucking stop! Fucking stop! Get off the fucking thing! Go, hop the wall, hop the wall. Chevron on that tight street. He's running westbound. He's going to be hopping a wall in the Desert Gardens. Units go inside Desert Gardens and go to the east side of it. Going northbound by Building K. Get on the ground! He's still going northbound. Get on the ground! Get on the ground! Get on the ground! Get your hand out of there.
Okay. Yeah.
Put your hands behind your back.
Okay. Oh.
Give me your other hand. Give me your other hand. Give me your other fucking hand, dude.
Right. I ain't doing it. Ain't doing it.
Get cuffs. I got his hands. Get cuffs.
I ain't doing it.
Get cuffs.
I can't breathe. I can't breathe.
Yeah, because you're fucking tired of running.
Okay, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Can't breathe.
1 VC71, code 4, lift the red, 1 in custody.
Can't breathe. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I can't breathe.
Units coming to us. We're going to be in the middle of the complex by Building K. If you can come around to the east side for us.
Did he secure the car?
Yeah. Unless your window was down.
Keep in mind, these officers have left their vehicle a couple blocks away, and they're waiting for other units to respond to assist.
I called it out in another area.
You did? The whole thing?
Yeah.
Hello.
Control 1 VC71. It's going to be negative use of force. The subject complied towards the end of the foot pursuit and got down on the ground.
You good? You got pressure on your butt, that's all. No, I couldn't breathe.
Get your morning workout in, boys?
Yeah, we were sleeping though.
We're all awake now.
Oh, my legs.
Come on.
That was 2 walls.
You lost your flashlight too?
Yeah, I gotta go. I know where it is though.
Come on. Stand up.
You'll notice he'll keep his feet together, appear to be trying to cover up something with his feet together. He'll then kick it away as they pull away. See him kicking the substance away.
I wonder why you're running. Stand up. Stand up.
They got incarcerated.
Stand up.
You guys want medical?
If you don't stand up, we're gonna drag you.
Yeah, let's just get it.
The officer asks if they want medical, they acknowledge, and medical is subsequently requested. They then take them over to the area near their patrol cars. Initially, medical couldn't find them, and then they directed medical in. Once they got there, medical saw that he was appeared to be unresponsive, and they treated him. At this time, I'll answer any questions you may have. Yes, sir.
How long before medical got
It was approximately 14. It was about 14 minutes or 8 minutes. 14 minutes for the pursuit and the entire thing until medical arrived, but it was about 7 or 8 minutes. 8 minutes.
So medical arrived 8 minutes after he was drug off to a different area?
From the time they responded to the time they were able to locate them. They got there, it took them about 2 minutes after they arrived for us to guide them in and let them know where we were located. Again, as I explained, these officers left their vehicle. Typically, they have their lights and their vehicle is at a location. They're easily, you could determine where the officer's at, but having ran a few blocks, as you heard the officer giving out the foot pursuit, he's describing his location as the street just west of Martin Luther King in this part of the complex. So it's a little difficult when you're out there on foot. You're trying to make sure folks know where you're at. And so as soon as they could get medical to their location, they did.
What is the protocol when somebody is saying that they can't breathe? Should the person be turned on the side, or what is the appropriate protocol if someone's repeatedly saying that they can't breathe?
Well, sometimes we do have suspects that they've been winded, as the officer said. It was a considerable distance that they both had ran. As you could hear, and even in the body-worn camera, the officers were breathing hard and so forth. As you also can see, it appears he was trying to conceal what he had in his possession, the narcotics as well as the dangerous drug. And so oftentimes suspects will say things to somewhat distract officers, but it's important, as they did in this case, is to address that, evaluate that, and at times many times we call medical and they respond and they clear the subject immediately and let them go and take them into custody to the detention facility. Yes, sir.
Were everyone's body cameras working, including the other officers that came and responded?
Yes, sir.
The entire time?
Yes, sir.
No blackout in any of the body camera footage?
They turned the body-worn camera off at the point. There was a time where the cameras went off after they got him over to the police car, and they subsequently turned them back on later on.
Why is that?
We're going to investigate that and evaluate the appropriateness of that. Our policy does allow for the officers to turn the body-worn camera off at the conclusion of an incident or other circumstances within our policy that allows that. But we will evaluate the totality of the incident to determine if it was appropriate, if they turned them off appropriately, or if they were turned off prematurely. But we still have to complete that as part of our investigation.
And is that just for the 2 officers that initially responded, or for all the officers?
We'll evaluate all of the officers involved and all of the body-worn camera video involved in this incident.
So
yes, ma'am.
The officers, after what we saw, did they keep their body camera footage on until medical arrived?
They kept it on for a considerable amount of time. They didn't keep it. It was not on continuously until medical arrived, and it was turned back on as medical arrived. Yes, ma'am.
At what point was it shut off? Can we see that portion of it, of when they actually shut off and then when it came back on?
I don't have all of that with me at this time, but it was shut off at the time he got over to the car as they were awaiting medical, and then it was subsequently turned back on.
Why would they shut it off?
If at the conclusion of an investigation of taking someone into arrest, they could turn it off. I could read all the other circumstances that involve the policy being turned where we allow the officers to turn it off, but we don't run the body-worn camera indefinitely throughout an entire shift without ever turning it off. If they've completed their action, and as you can see, the action was completed at that time in terms of he's been taken into custody. What we would have hoped that he'd been treated and we'd have just taken him to jail. Unfortunately, he passed away.
Did I understand
Yes, sir.
correctly? He was on house arrest?
Yes, sir.
And
Electronic monitoring, and basically what happened is he had failed to check in on the 29th. He had not charged his ankle bracelet, which he still had on when we took him into custody. The officers that manage our house arrest process was in the process of getting with a judge to get an arrest warrant to bring him back into custody. So he was being treated, he was viewed as an absconder, and we would have been out looking for him anyway to pick him up.
Were the officers familiar with him since he had run-ins with the law?
I don't know if these particular officers that took him into custody were familiar with him. Clearly, our officers that had engaged him to place that bracelet on him had some familiarity with him. Yes, sir.
What kind of drugs, can you specify what kind of drugs those were?
I believe he was in possession of what you saw there was tested positive for methamphetamine, and what was in the pill bottle tested positive for hydrocodone.
I just want to make sure I have the timeline correct here. So officers made contact with him around 5 a.m. or exactly what time did they make contact with him and he pursued again?
Give me one moment.
5:48.
Yeah, we initiated the stop at 5:48. You noticed they were running for a few minutes, and then they got him into custody. At 5:48, they initiated the stop. We had a code red at 5:49. At 5:51, we broadcast code 4 that he was taken into custody, so that has us running just under 2 minutes right there. At 5:52, our officer broadcast. That's when he broadcast no force was used. He was complying. And at 5:54, medical was requested. And we first have body-worn camera footage of medical engaging him at 6:08.
What would you say to the public who sees a video like this of an unarmed black man and who was initially, stopped for a traffic stop, says in the video that he can't breathe and then winds up dead?
Well, I've briefed what occurred here, and let me be very clear. We take the sanctity of life very seriously, and any time something like this, it's very unfortunate. There's no one we go out or any day that an officer goes out and want to cause harm to anyone. And as you can even see from the video that you observed, these officers took him into custody, engaged him. He complied. However, you could see he was holding back one of his hands, which likely had one of those substances in it. But it's very serious and it's concerning to us. And we feel very saddened that this has occurred, and it's unfortunate.
So you said, So you said that there is body cam footage of him being treated by EMTs whenever.
Yes, sir.
Took him to the hospital.
Yes, before he was transported to the hospital, there is additional body-worn camera footage that shows him being treated by medical personnel at the scene. Yes, sir.
So have you guys already looked at this point in your investigation everyone's body cam footage that is there? Because I know there was the 2 original officers, but I counted at least 3 or 4 more that showed up to assist carry him off. So there's basically, is there a blackout spot where there's no body camera footage from the time they drag him off to get treated by EMTs, and then all of a sudden it's sunrise and he's getting treated by EMTs? There's no footage of that?
No, let me be clear. There's several officers that respond to this event. There's numerous body-worn cameras that were activated during this event. All of that has to be evaluated. There will be a complete investigation. There'll be interviews of those officers to evaluate if their camera was deactivated at the appropriate or inappropriate time. So it's premature for me to comment on whether or not those officers deactivated their cameras inappropriately or if it was deactivated appropriately. So there will be a complete investigation. Each camera will be reviewed. Each officer will be interviewed to determine if all of their actions regarding the use, activation, and deactivation of their cameras was appropriate.
I just want to make sure. So is it accurate if I say you guys haven't looked at all the body camera footage yet?
There has not been a complete investigation yet. I don't know to what degree all of the cameras have been reviewed at this time, but the investigation is still ongoing right now, sir. I'll take 2 more questions.
We spoke with the family a little bit earlier. They're saying that they came in with the force investigation team, that they viewed the they saw beyond what we saw, that at the same time, maybe 7 or 8 officers, all of their cameras went off at the same time. They said prior to the cameras going off, after they dragged him off, they laid him back on the ground where he continued to say that he couldn't breathe. No one turned him on his side or attempted to render aid until they realized that, okay, he's limp, he might really not be breathing. The family seems to think that he died there on the scene, that the body cameras went off as some sort of cover-up, or they're not sure what happened in between that gap. Can you understand why it looks suspicious for body cameras to go dark and for the family not to know what happened in what they are calling a 20 to 30-minute gap?
Well, let me be clear. The reason our force investigation team meets with the family because we understand folks have lost a loved one, and there's a lot of questions that they want answered, and so we respect that, and we have compassion for their feelings and what they're dealing with. So we want to provide them with as many details as we can provide at this time. Again, it's still a premature investigation to say that this is absolutely what occurred. We don't know the full details of what occurred until we interview and complete a full investigation. But our efforts there are to provide the family with preliminary information as we know it at this time, and then complete a thorough investigation. That's going to conclude my comments. Thank you. Have a good day.